The Supreme Court has ruled against gay rights. The 6-3 ruling says a Colorado artist can deny working with same-sex couples. The artist challenged a Colorado law that bars discrimination based on sexual orientation, race, or gender. The court also struck down President Biden's student loan forgiveness program. Caroline Shively has more on that ruling from Washington.
The hopes of more than 40 million borrowers once eligible for up to $20,000 in federal student debt relief are now dead. The Supreme Court gave one last blow to the Biden administration's $400 billion plan Friday after it had been blocked by lower courts. In the majority opinion, Chief Justice John Roberts challenged the premise of the administration's plan, saying it created, quote, a novel and fundamentally different loan forgiveness program.
This is a huge defeat for the Biden administration, politically and legally.
The conservative majority on the high court claiming the administration overstepped by using the HEROES Act to forgive debt. That law allows the Secretary of Education to make changes to loans during emergencies. The White House argued COVID-19 was one. 26 million people applied for the relief before the program was put on hold. In a dissent, Justice Elena Kagan writing, quote, the Secretary did no more than use the lawfully delegated authority.
Inflation has caused us to be in a situation where paying back a loan 4 years ago, like I was doing, is a little more difficult, a lot more difficult for me these days.
Millions of borrowers haven't had to make student loan payments since 2020 because of a pause instituted during the pandemic.
It's time to restart the payments. We should have done that years ago. The fact that people still don't have to pay their student loans is ridiculous.
About 1 in 5 Americans has a student loan. After a 3-year break, those payments are set to resume in October. At the Supreme Court, Caroline Shively, Fox 32, Chicago.
So these decisions are prompting passionate reaction on both sides, as you can imagine. We're joined now by the ACLU's Ed Yohnka. And Ed, thank you for making time for us first and foremost.
It's good to see you. I'm glad to be with you.
Good to see you as well. Let's first talk about the free speech case. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of that Colorado designer, as I said a few moments ago, even though there is a Colorado law banning discrimination based on sexual orientation, race, and gender. Justice Sotomayor said this is opening the door to discrimination down the road. Justice Neil Gorsuch essentially wrote that free speech means all people are free to think and say what they think, not what the government demands. Can you give us your reaction on that?
Well, I don't think this is just about free speech, because this is about then turning that speech or that belief into an action. And the action is to discriminate against someone else based on who they are and who they love. And we've never permitted that in our society. People can hold beliefs, people can say things, but what we've not permitted them to do is to act in a fashion where they are discriminating against someone and have the color of law to be able to do that. And so I do think this opens up a wide door where lots of people will be claiming that theirs is expression as opposed to just service. And it really does put in question a number of different ways in which we haven't seen public accommodation laws challenged throughout the course of our history.
Right. And of course, this kind of goes back to the argument of religion as well that we just saw yesterday with the mail carrier as well. So let's also talk about the Supreme Court's student loans decisions. It effectively kills President Biden's plan to clear student loan debt for about 20 million students. The justice is saying that the Biden administration overstepped its authority. Is this the end of the idea, though, or do you think there's some way the president can make good on his promise?
You know, I imagine that there is some other way for the president to make good on his promise and to find a path forward here. I think what's interesting about this court is remember that many of the people who were in the majority today were the same people that during the Trump administration suggested that a president had a power to ban people from certain countries coming into this country. I think this is one of the things that puts some of the credibility of the court really in stark relief, is that they appear to move their decisions based on the outcome as opposed to on the law and the precedent. You know, the act on which the president relied here was one that said you do things in an emergency. And clearly, I think most of us would agree, having lived through it, that COVID was indeed an emergency.
Yeah, and just with the 2 days of these decisions coming down, major decisions, what's your overall take on this week in history?
You know, I think what we're seeing is a court which is determined to turn the clock back on a lot of rights that have been extended and enjoyed by people across this country. And, you know, people quite often, as we saw last year after the Dobbs decision, do not take well to the limitation of rights, do not take well to the limitation or the reversal of progress. And so I think we're going to continue to see pushback against this court and likely, as we've seen, falling credibility for the court in terms of public opinion.
Ed Youngkin with the ACLU, thank you so much for being here with us.